Hey, what's up, all? And we're back again for another Wednesday. And you know what that means? It's John Scott with SP3 on Powered for SP3. How are you doing this week, my friend?
I am doing great. It is a Wednesday, my favorite day of the week, where I get to join you, John, talk about a little bit of the wrestling world, answer some of the live chat as we always do. They always seem to come in hot and heavy before we even go live, and I see it's no difference this week. And of course, I also love to correct some of the people that's in the live chat as well. It's one of my favorite parts of the week.
You are basically a teacher in this live chat, SP3. You are the person that people are looking at and being corrected by. So you learn something here. You go away better educated and better for it. We grow people on this show. That's basically who we are.
I learned from you. I learned from Alex McCarthy, and I like to spread that knowledge that I get from you guys to the people in the live chat, the people that join us, and we always like to have a good time while doing it. It's no hard feelings from my end. I know I've had people like ramble like, do you hate me, SP3? No, I don't hate anybody. I just have a great time at poking the logic holes in some of your arguments, and it's a good time. You guys can come back at me, I'll come back. It's a even exchange. It's interactive on Powered 4 SP3.
Exactly. We don't like to be yes people on this show. We like an argument, a good argument at that. And, that's what we're here for. Before we start the show, I've got a few little announcements, or big announcements, really, straight following this show. I mean, literally within an hour, maybe an hour and a half at tops. Powered4.tv is the place to go and see none other than Superstar Pro Wrestling. We've got the footage first before it goes anywhere else. So if you want to check that out, go to powered4.tv. It will be available there. And if you didn't already know, the two play-by-play announcers for that show were none other than, yes, Mr. Mad Dog Mike Angus and Mr. Stewie Palmer, who's looking very happy with himself there in that shot. I've got to say, he's looking... He's looking like he's very comfortable, and you've got Mike, who's definitely in motion, giving his stuff. So if you want to check that out, literally within the next hour and a half, probably following this show, you will be able to see that. So please go on over and check this new event out. It's very retro. I think you're going to like it. It's got the likes of the legendary wrestler Dean Allmark involved as well. So definitely one to go and watch. But SP3, I think we'll start with some headlines here. This came from the back end of last week. It's becoming a regular fixture. And I know you guys over at Tru Heel Heat did a very good special on this that I catched up on over the weekend. But yes, it's none other than Shake Up behind the scenes in WWE. And of course, lots of different things happening. We've seen lots of releases as well, and we're going to get to that a little bit further on, so I won't mention that too much yet. But tell us a little bit more about this shake-up and what this now means for WWE at the top, I guess.
Well, this is like one that kind of has to do with a lot of different topics that we're going to address on this episode of Powered 4 SP3. But firstly, it was just reported last night that WWE backstage official and former TNA Impact star Sanjay Dutt had officially quit from his position in WWE behind the scenes. He had been basically working with the company since January 2019 as like a road agent. He came on with Joseph Parks, aka Abyss, during the to become a part of the team Triple H in NXT, then transitioned to the main roster and was working there. And he has decided that he wants to continue with his wrestling career, so he has decided to step away from his backstage role. Also, a big topic of discussion over the last 24 hours is Canyon Seaman. Canyon Seaman is world-renowned as a talent scout for WWE. We've seen him on such things as, I know, the WWE Tough Enough season back in 2015, as well as the Breaking Ground series in 2015, 2016. He was like one of the head people that would talk to guys like Baron Corbin, Mojo Rawley, and such. His position in WWE has been like in flux, it seems. It was first reported by Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer that he had been let go from his position in WWE. Dave immediately tweeted out, like right after this report went out, where he tweeted it, that WWE sources had reached out to him and let him know that Canyon Seaman had not been let go at his position in WWE. Then Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Wrestling, who's been on top of everything, it seems, he reported his side, that he spoke to WWE sources who have said that no, he's not been let go, but it has been a topic of discussion, and Fightful has been reached out to by multiple different companies who have been wondering what has been going on. Is there any type of shakeup? Is his position, if he's not let go, has it changed? Because there's been a lot of conflicting reports. So it seems like there's a lot of flux in the backstage area. A lot of this can be down to, the WWE doing budget cuts on the talent roster, as well as like staffers. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. They fired a bunch of office staff over the last couple of months due to, President Nick Khan really shaking things up overall, whether it's the on-screen talent, whether it's behind the scenes. He has been at the head of discussion on all of these, different moving parts that has been going on. So it is a very interesting time in WWE as they are about to get back on the road. A lot of the budget cuts that they're doing with on-screen talent, as well as the back behind the scenes officials, has to do with WWE trying to mitigate the costs that it's going to take, because in 2019 they made record profits, but one of their biggest loss of profits was running live events, and live events take a lot of money to perform due to like production, putting the ring together, taking it down, the pyro and everything else. So they are trying to mitigate that cost that it's going to take for them to get back on the road full time by cutting talent, by cutting behind the scenes officials. So this is a very interesting time in WWE as they are overcoming a lot of shakeup and changes, whether it's on screen, behind the scenes. It's going to be very interesting because I don't think this has ended. This is a story that's going to be ongoing for the rest of 2021, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe even beyond that. Who knows? But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. As soon as I saw the word shake-up, I just feel like shake-up all the time. It seems to be happening quite a bit. We're seeing a lot of developments in the backstage. I'm sure there's a lot of a bit of politics played as well. Like it's almost like chess pieces, shifting power around. Kind of, I'm sure there's an end goal to a lot of people at the end of this, where they want to be positioned at a certain point. So I'm sure there's a lot of moves being made in that area. And let's be honest, SP3, it's not as if they're all in sync with one another, given what we've seen with Samoa Joe. So it's like it's a crazy time. It's like there's a lot of chefs in that kitchen right now. Yes. Because for a long time, and people got to remember, Vince McMahon has been the only chef for a long time. That goes way back. So yes, this is what happens when that power starts to slowly but gradually be taken away, and this is what the result of what we're seeing now, I believe. Following on with that, SP3, I think we'll jump into this straight away, is the latest WWE releases, and as well as NXT Call-Ups. So for those of you that are not familiar, we had another set of releases last week. I believe, what's that, our third now of the year, SP3, or is it more? I can't
this would be the fourth as far as talent. We had immediately after WrestleMania in April with the likes of Mickie James, the iconic Samoa Joe, who has already returned back on NXT, was a part of that first initial one. Then we had a NXT centric type of one that had Alexander Wolf, Velveteen Dream, the referee Jake Wirtz. Then we had a couple of weeks ago, we basically broke the news right here on Powered4SP3 as Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, and others were let go. So this would be fourth as far as the on-screen talent, and this was more of a 205 Live / NXT type of cuts, which was headlined by Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Breezango, the former NXT Tag Team Champions. Tyler Breeze, probably one of the most underutilized talents of the past decade. I've said it on a few shows, Tru Heel Heat, as well as, like you said, me and Romeo did a special Romeo report on the talent releases. I would say Tyler Breeze's supermodel gimmick in the OG WWE Network version of NXT was tailor-made for the main roster. He was Rick the Model Martel meets the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, with the selfie cam, with the theme music that he sang himself, the Zoolander type persona. Yeah, he just had it all. The look, he was great in the ring, and he just went to the main roster and they completely blew it within like 2 weeks. It's just outrageous. And then they found gold with the partnership with him and Fandango. The Fashion Files in 2017 on SmackDown was a highlight of the show. I know people that were totally fed up with like Monday Night Raw and even most of Friday Night SmackDown, but they watch SmackDown every week to check out the fashion files with the fashion police, Breezango. So they found gold there. They never capitalized on it to basically counter out AEW on the Wednesday Night Wars. They put them back on NXT to have main roster talent on the NXT brand to draw eyes to NXT. And that didn't work, but they did, get the NXT tag team title run last year, which was a great moment for two guys that have been with the company for so long. Tyler Breeze started with the company about 2010, 2011. I think he came to prominence on NXT in 2013. So he was with the company for more than a decade. Johnny Curtis, aka Fandango, had been with the company since 2006. He's been with the company for 14 years. He was the winner of the NXT season 4 back in 2011. So he had done a lot different variations. One of the most underrated comedic personalities that WWE's ever had. And I'm not just talking about Fandango and his role on the Fashion Files. I'm talking about Fandango when it initially came up, Johnny Curtis when he was on the NXT brand, and when he got called up to SmackDown. This guy is he has a great humor to him. He was the highlight of Southpaw Regional Wrestling. Doc Gallows himself told me that on Wrestling Daily. So yeah, this guy has so much talent. These are two guys that I think whatever company they go to, they're going to be huge assets for them, but they weren't the only ones. You also had former Cruiserweight champion Tony Nese, who just won the title 2 years ago at WrestleMania 35. It's crazy to remember. It was just that, just 2 years ago, he was Cruiserweight champion. He has been a mainstay of the Cruiserweight division and 205 Live since 2016. You also had another 205 Live OG, Ariel Daivari. He also got released. You even had releases from guys that just got signed less than a year ago in Kurt Stallion, August Gray. It's a crazy shakeup in my opinion. You also had the Singh brothers, the Bollywood boys. These are not, guys that are like on TV every week, but these are guys that have some type of talent to them that could have been utilized by WWE, but because they didn't have plans for them in the present time, they decided to make those cuts. I know Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful initially reported that these cuts were on the name of Nick Khan once again, and that he was had a meeting that he did where he told everybody that he'll take the heat for these cutting of these talent. Then WWE sources reached out to Sean Ross Sapp and let him know that Nick Khan didn't have anything to do with these releases, which made me raise an eyebrow a little bit because I'm like, I think it was. You think it'd have a little bit something to do with these. Also, another superstar that should be named that I just remembered, Killian Dane was a part of the releases. I don't have all the releases in front of me right now, so I'm just naming some off the top of the head here. But it was another crazy shakeup over. I think the number was 14 different talent were released. Something that we didn't talk about on last week's episode because the podcast didn't come out. Also a part of these releases was Raw writer Denise Mobley, who was on the Asian Not Asian podcast, where she talked about her new role as a WWE writer. And she basically admitted that she didn't have a lot of knowledge in professional wrestling and of the WWE prior to her gaining the role. They basically said, you have experience in film production and comedy writing. Come on in. And she got Bobby Lashley's name wrong. She called him Bobby Ashley or Bobby Lashley. She didn't know which one it was. She said that he was a part of the group The Hurt Business as of last year, and they're in Bobby Lashley's a big black guy, and he's in the group Hurt Business, and they wear suits, and they're like, we're cool. And it's been a very big subject of debate. I think it's horrible that someone in the internet wrestling community have been dragging Denise Mobley and basically, talking down to her and harassing her, which is disgusting behavior, because this is something that WWE has done for 2 decades now. They've hired writers who have no experience, who have no knowledge in professional wrestling. They have experience in, Hollywood writing, film writing, TV writing, comedy, drama writing, and they tell them to come on in. If you go to the WWE, hiring online, it says, experience is beneficial, but it's not required. It's like it's preferred but not required. So she got the role that she was qualified for the qualifications that WWE set forth. All the heat should be on WWE from the people that are harassing Denise Mobley. On the other hand, you have some people that are going, overboard with the, support of Denise Mobley and blaming the fans for her firing. Let's keep it real here. Dave Chappelle did a famous skit on the Dave Chappelle Show, and it was called "When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong," and Denise Mobley would have been the latest example of when keeping it real goes wrong, because she's a comedian, she's been on the Tonight Show, she's on a podcast, she has no knowledge of the wrestling community, no knowledge of the company she works for, WWE. So she's just nonchalantly talking about her lack of knowledge and her new role and how, she's getting paid, she's getting the bag to write. She's talking about, you're going to write the catchphrases, we're going to write the hand signals for these wrestlers. And she's having fun on this podcast. She had no idea of the vitriol that is the wrestling community and how they would react to her words. She had no idea that she works for a company, a $1 billion company in WWE, that doesn't regularly put people of color like myself, like Denise Mobley, in these positions. And all they need is one good reason to let you go and to cut your ass. So she gave them a very good reason. She got a lot of backstage heat that was reported on the Wrestling Observer newsletter of office, higher ups not being happy with the fact that she let it be known that the hiring process didn't include having knowledge in wrestling in WWE and that she got this role. I don't blame her at the end of the day, because ignorance is bliss and she didn't know, but you gotta put some of the blame on her, because you got this role and she wasn't prompted by the host of Asian Not Asian podcast. Like, it wasn't like the host was like, oh, who's the WWE champion on Monday Night Raw? She literally just let it be known she's not sure of the name of the top guy on the show she's going to be writing for. She was not prompted at all for the quote that has been getting dragged by so many wrestling fans. So do I blame the wrestling fans for Denise Mobley being fired? Hell no. I think a lot of the blame should go on Denise Mobley, and a majority of the blame should go on WWE, because this is a hiring process that has been going on for years. And I think some of the people that are in support of Denise Mobley take it a little too far in blaming the fans, because the writing in WWE is not the problem. It's the over-scripting. It's the fact that a lot of these wrestlers don't need comedy writers. A lot of people like Fandango, like I said before, who just got released, like a R-Truth, like a Billy Kay that got released earlier this year, past superstars like Santino Marella, like we're seeing with Riddle. Riddle is not given this great comedic script on Monday Night Raw, and that's why he's the highlight of the show. It's because of Riddle's timing. It's because of Riddle's delivery. He's a naturally funny guy. That's why he's gotten over. That's why he's been the highlight of Monday Night Raw when they had a lot of crap episodes before the last 2 weeks. It's because of his natural humor, his natural comedic timing. WWE has a problem with over-scripting, not with the script itself. So I think that a lot of people are not putting the heat where it needs to be. Both sides of the spectrum need to put the heat and the majority of the blame on this whole situation on WWE, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And just to pick up a few points about what you said there, SP3, just to go back to Tyler Bate, I mean, I'm totally with you. I think he was one of the most biggest things NXT had for a while. And
you said Bate.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. Just on my mind, Tyler Bate there, I guess.
You went to the UK.
Tyler Breeze. Thank God you're here. Thank God you're here, because I'll be getting the heat next. I tell you. Yes, Tyler Breeze, just a phenomenal act, but an amazing wrestler as well. People forget how good he was, and he was involved with some blinding triple threats with Tyson Kidd and Pac, Adrian Neville at one point. I mean, just amazing matches week to week. So a bit of a shame there. And you know, that tag team, I've got to be honest with you, I think they were given that, like, here you go. I don't think they really had much plans for them, but I think they really made more of it, a bit like the New Day did when they took on their stuff. You know, I just think they really were passionate. So it's really unfortunate because, you know, everyone says you've got to make the most of what you're given. I think they did. I actually think they actually did make the most of it. They got involved with it. They went 100%, but it is what it is. And I'm 100% with you about the hiring. I think that I'll throw it out there to a few people. About 6-7 years ago, I actually looked into doing that kind of right inside with WWE, and I was told by somebody internally that I should go away and finish my book before I even attempt to apply, because they will not look past that. And they wanted qualifications. They wanted like some sort of history in writing, either a TV set. Forget knowledge of wrestling. It did not matter one bit. And I know exactly what you mean. If you go on there today, it's still the same stuff. It's still the same stuff you'll be filling in. There is very little about your wrestling knowledge that ever comes up. And if anything, you're kind of swayed away from having any kind of influence because they don't want to hear it until you're probably in there itself. But I'm like you, mate. I mean, look, if I'm a boss and I've taken someone on in my industry, and the one key thing about my industry I haven't asked on the interview, guess what? That's on me. That's on the person that's hired this person. On the other side of things, I guess if I'd have gone into an industry that I don't know that well, but I managed to get in somehow, because they didn't ask me a freaking question about the main part of the context, maybe I would have done my homework and studied a little bit as to what the hell this was all about. Maybe, you know, because I think once you're there, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, maybe I'll learn a little bit. Obviously she didn't. She just thought, you know what, I'll just go along. I mean, my hat's off to her because she lasted quite a long time given what she knew, right? So I mean, whose fault is it? I blame WWE more than her 100% on that one. And yeah, fans need to, you know, pull it in a little bit, you know, give people a hard time way too much. Let's go to some questions then. SB3, talking about correcting people and all, and the people's knowledge. Here's one bit of knowledge. Brett Thomas knowledge of the polls. Logan made 20 million and Floyd 100 million from fight. What a payday. Jericho trashing Logan. Like to see him sell that buy rate on his own and make that kind of money. Floyd didn't call him, did he? So there you go. Brett's not happy with Chris Jericho on that one, on the payday. Have we got an actual official buy rate yet, Brett? That's what I want to know. Honest Beyond Reasonable says Brett Thomas, Logan Mania. I totally agree with that. I think you're spot on. Brett says, I can't help it. Jake and Logan have helped me so much by sending me letters of support. They are cool dudes and I'll support them always. Nobody else has ever reached out to me in wrestling.
They're not wrestling. What?
I don't know who these people are, SB3. He finishes with Powered4, Tru Heel Heat, What Culture, and sometimes Talk Sport when I'm allowed on. Are the only big supports because they have been so welcoming. Well, I'm pleased we've done something right for you, Brett. I really am. Carnage Pain. In the UK scene, John, that you know well, who should we keep an eye out for? Female, males tags. I'm going to TNT weekend in August. Hope to see you there. Yes, I probably will be there, Carnage Pain. I mean, that's such a crazy question. I can't give you... there's so many people out there. Off the top of my head, because this is just off the top of my head, a female wrestler, I would look at Chantel Jordan. I believe she's only 18, but she's been wrestling for a long time, and she's got an MMA pedigree. But she's going to be something. Tag team. There's a tag team called the Rebellion. Jack Torino and Taylor Taylor James. They would be a standout. And I think male wrestlers. I think it's a tough one. I think maybe Adam Maxted, if he hasn't already been signed, he'd be somebody that they probably go after just on his looks as well. He's got that WWE physique that they all seem to like. So yeah, they'd be my, just off the top of my head. Don't go out there and start saying that's the only person he said on his whole platform. That's the only ones to come up with, because there's loads of potential talent. But in my opinion, those ones for the future, I would imagine being out there. But thank you for the question. And Brett Thomas actually saying what I just said. Adam Maxted would be a breaker. Yeah, and I agree. Rambo, the great one, the rambling one, has finally come back to Powered4SP3. I didn't know you'd left, Rambo. Got to say, I actually enjoyed the finale of Lost Treasures, going after Flair's Black Butterfly. Changed my opinion on Bad Bunny. Yeah, I actually sat and watched the finale. I didn't think I'd watch any more of them because they were really getting on my nerves. Do you know what I was thinking, SP3? Speaking of Lost Treasures, you know, they should have got on the show at one point. Especially, I don't know if you saw this Flair episode, but it was bloody crazy to get this robe. But the bloke they should have got negotiating should have been Nick Khan. They should get Nick Khan on Lost Treasures. They'd sign this stuff up then, I tell you, don't you worry. He's the guy that should have been. Exactly, we'd love that. Rachel Carnell now. Is it true SP3 is now doing wrestling content, creating full time? Question mark. Came on at back end of Tru Heel Heat shows and came in halfway. Wanted to check and not doing wrestling media of getting half a story. Oh, little slight dig there. No, but well done, Rachel. You're checking. SP3. I don't know about this. So, is there truth to this?
Yes, I am making the transition to doing full-time content creation. Not just in wrestling. I've opened the door to doing, sports content for, I'm a big basketball fan. Then I've already gotten some feelers in my DMs. So my DMs are open at Tru Heel SP3 for anyone who's looking for a wrestling content creator with experience on YouTube or whatnot. I would like to get some revenue for that. I do have 2 kids. I do have a wife at home. So yes, I'm making that transition to full content creation.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, SP3, to you, and obviously good luck on your epic journey. I'm sure it will be a journey as well. But there you go, Rachel. You were right. But good to ask, good to confirm. That's what we like here on the show. Because Rambo on the other hand, he's probably signed with Wrestle Talk.
I'm a freelancer for Wrestle Talk as part of Wrestling Daily. I'm not an official. I'm not in the group chat for Wrestle Talk, so I'm not an official affiliate of Wrestle Talk. I do the co-host on Wrestling Daily. I do have a new role as a content manager for the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel, so I do kind of back end stuff. So yes, I'm working more with Wrestle Talk, but I'm not a Wrestle Talk affiliate. You won't see me on all the live reactions yet. I'm opening the door for them to hit me in the DMs as well.
There you go. Mark Lloyd now. Hello all. Getting earlier and earlier. I'm off to work. So old school question. Is it true WWF considered Burt Reynolds getting into the ring to face fake Bill Clinton? If so, what would have happened? I assume you're talking about WrestleMania 10, because that's the only time I've ever seen. I think that was the one Burt Reynolds was at. It certainly was the fake Bill Clinton.
They had the fake Bill Clinton at WrestleMania 10, as well as Survivor Series 1995 in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, what on earth ever got them to do that? But yeah, I mean, I've never heard of a potential match of any sort with Burt Reynolds. I don't know if you have SP. It's not something I know of anyway.
No,
No.
I have no information whatsoever.
Absolutely no idea what you're going on about there, Mark, to be honest with you. Carnage Pain, just because they might not be able to perform in a ring like others. Hang on, what's this? Oh, sorry, there's one bit before it. All the nerds got upset again, I see, about the latest releases. There you go. There's Carnage for you. Just because they might not be able to perform in a ring like others, we change industries. So maybe they can stack shelves in their local shops or drive truck. Get over it. Well, there's sympathy as ever from Carnage Pain.
Jeez.
And Rachel Carnell saying harsh. Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. I'm not sure what stirred him up, but yeah, he's not too happy about that, is he? And also Carnage Pain saying how's the hunt for Julie. I think that's aimed at Mark Lloyd here. Oh dear. Yeah, still going on, is it? Right. Rambo. Well, wrestling companies always did releases back in the 80s with WWF, just that back then it was one-man band in Dave and a few mags. Now it's the entire 1.6 or whatever left of modern fans. more positive with Rambo. And Chris coming in, Brett, mate, we support your Big Fight Weekly as well. Yeah, he knows he's got the support. You know, Brett, he does get a little bit emotional at times and worried about people. But like SB3 said at the start of the show, we like a debate. That does not mean anything personal to anybody, so do not fear. And that goes for anybody. So, yeah, thank you for all the questions. Elsa Kana coming in, what's up? And also saying missed you guys. And comment there, Sanjay is amazing. I think from earlier we were talking about Sanjay Dutt. Yeah, he was definitely one of my favorites back in the day, watching that. And Carnage Pain saying they should have Nick Khan on screen, be a great heel. You're released. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, I mean, maybe they should. Maybe it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. 4 or 5 years down the line, Nick Khan will get that gig. And yeah, maybe instead of Vince McMahon's "you're fired," it'll be "you're released." Who knows? But he would make probably a good heel. So there you go. Now more news coming here. SP3 Samoa Joe in-ring return confirmed. It's amazing, isn't it? What a month this has been for Samoa Joe. 1 minute he's out the door, and he was, only a play-by-play at that point, and people speculating how injured or hurt was he. And within the space of this time, he's now got a confirmed date, as it appears. And, pretty crazy turnaround here, SB3, for Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I mean, he did a great interview with Ryan Satin, who's been doing a great job with his new podcast, a part of Fox Sports. But he spoke to Samoa Joe, and he asked him about, is he working towards an in-ring return? And Samoa Joe did confirm that yes, he is working towards an in-ring return, and all he'll say is just yes, and he'll keep it as that. He was vague but firm in his answer to the question. He also talked about how Triple H had gave him a call immediately after his release in April. He basically said that when he got released, he sent out a few texts to a couple of people that he was close with in WWE, basically thanking them for his time there. Triple H was one of those people. Triple H contacted him back a few hours later saying, I was just in the meeting. He was like, basically, let me talk to my people. We'll set up a package because I want you over in NXT. So basically, Samoa Joe not only has an on-screen role as the enforcer for GM William Regal, but he has a behind-the-scenes role with NXT now. Samoa Joe confirmed during the interview that he is now a part of the talent scouting department. He does work with the aforementioned Canyon Seaman in that department. I think Samoa Joe mentioning Canyon Seaman was kind of the outlier for, the talk about his role there. But basically, he's now a part of like the talent scouting, similar to what William Regal does for NXT. He's a part of, as they call, Team Triple H in the NXT brand, along with Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels. And apparently, he's a part of that old nucleus in that inner circle that potentially for the people that want Triple H to, you know, become in charge of the main roster, potentially Samoa Joe will be a part of that team that moves up. So it sounds like, you know, for people that were questioning why would Samoa Joe go back to the company that fired him, it seems like he has a more, you know, firm position now, and he has a position that is, you know, beneficial to his long-term future in pro wrestling, because he is working towards an in-ring return, like we said, and we seen on NXT with the way they're teasing matches with him nonstop. It seems anytime he's on camera, he's teasing a potential matchup with somebody. But they're also, you know, got him long term for a role behind the scenes, looking at talent. He has a great eye for talent. He's a guy that discovered a whole bunch of talent on the independent scene. He was one of the guys that kind of discovered Jay Lethal during his time in Ring of Honor. I would think that was probably like the biggest name of the people that I know Samoa Joe like saw something in when they were younger in the professional wrestling world and kind of brought them up with him. And we see the success that Jay Lethal has now, former two-time ROE champion, former longest reigning television champion in that company's history, all the success in TNA Impact Wrestling as well. So Samoa Joe has a great eye for talent, and he's someone that is going to be great in the role that they got him as there, as well as on screen. We've been seeing his success as the enforcer for GM William Regal. And like I said, in-ring return, I'm all for it. I'm happy to hear that. Samoa Joe is one of my all-time favorites from his time in Ring of Honor. During his time in TNA Impact, he kind of made me watch that company more. He was the reason that I kind of first got into Ring of Honor with his series of matches with CM Punk back in 2004. So this has been a long journey, seeing Samoa Joe for well over 15 years. So I'm very happy to hear that he is potentially getting back in the ring, because that's where he's at home the most. That's where I think that he will be an even bigger benefit to the NXT roster and the brand overall. So it is all good things for Samoa Joe back on board with WWE.
Absolutely. I mean, that's it's amazing. Like I said before, and I'm like you. I'm a big Joe fan. I loved it in a TNA run when he was unbeaten, and I believe he had the X Division title for some time. And I don't know who he lost it again, but I was really disappointed when that come to an end. I think it might have been at a Bound for Glory. I can't remember, but
he lost the X Division Championship in the three-way, the 5-star rated three-way with Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles.
Yes.
That's how he kept his undefeated streak going, because AJ pinned Christopher Daniels.
Getcha. Yeah. But yeah, he was phenomenal back then, and I was always like back then, of course, WWE never had TNA on the radar. You couldn't even mention those three letters together, so it was like never going to happen. And finally, he did get there. And one of the things was worth pointing out is, much like a few other guys came in, like CM Punk, they were able to keep their name, keep their identity, because he's somebody that, you know, if Vince would have got his hands on him, he would have probably been Umaga or something. In that time period, I'm sure I read something somewhere where they wanted to do something similar, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have let him kept Samoa Joe for that time. But it's great when guys can come in, and I think Triple H does have that level of respect for these guys, which is good. I believe I'm kind of hoping that that's still Triple H. It's really difficult to know what Triple H's philosophy is sometimes, because he does have to wear so many different hats, and it's very hard, because I know we think we see everything that's his through NXT, but I think it's a bit of a mixture. I really do. I think he's a bit of a hybrid. And Triple H, if you look at his career and who he's been around, you know, he's been in things like Evolution, and then he's been in radical things like DX, very different groups individually, like nothing like each other at all. And in the characters he's based himself on have all been very different, like taken off lots of different other wrestlers and people. So I think he's very open for things, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I don't think, I know everybody goes, we really want Triple H to take over. I truly don't know if they know who we're going to get at the end of it, because I think it could all change, you know. So interesting. Now I'm going off on one a little bit with that ramble, but
I totally agree with you. And I was saying, I've been saying this for months on end, years actually, with people that have been wanting, Triple H take over for Vince McMahon. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. His goals and his motives in NXT is completely different to what it will be if he is in charge of the main roster. And it also goes back to our first topic of discussion on this episode with the shakeups going on behind the scenes in WWE. One of the questions or one of the rumors going on is that Triple H will potentially become, the head or creative director for one of the main roster shows. So it's going to be very interesting, and it's kind of fun how all these subjects that we've kind of talked about kind of intermingle. Something we didn't also talk about during the WWE releases part, we're talking about NXT call-ups, and it's interesting that has to do with how plans in NXT are basically gonna change and already are changing, as we saw on NXT last night, as we'll get to. But Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, the former NXT North American champion now, Bronson Reed, Scarlett, and Shotzi Blackheart have all had main roster tryouts, basically appearing on main event over the last 2 weeks, as well as dark matches before the SmackDown tapings. So it's potentially seems like they are gearing up for a lot of change and turnover on the on-screen talent, to kind of fill in spots for a lot of the released talent that we've had. And even kind of one of the bigger stories of the week, Vince McMahon is going to be at the Performance Center this Thursday to basically check out some of the talent in NXT, because he wants younger and bigger talent on the main roster. So we are going to see who kind of catches Vince McMahon's eye more, and we've kind of already seen, due to these tryouts and the main event matches, as well as what we saw last night on NXT, who has already caught Vince McMahon's eyes and is gearing up for a main roster call-up.
Yeah, I saw that news come out, and I was reading the comments underneath, and they were like, "No, he shouldn't go near it. He shouldn't go down there. He's going to ruin it." I'm like, dude, it's his company. He can go wherever he wants. It's like, yeah, he might not turn up there all the time, but like, he's allowed to go there. My
John,
goodness.
I'm afraid to tell you this, but it's actually still true. There are some fans that don't actually know that NXT is a part of WWE. They like to pretend, because NXT is a good weekly show. They like to pretend like NXT is not a part of WWE. And I always love it when there's like genuine questions out on social media, like, what's your favorite promotion? And somebody says NXT, and I'm like, you goofy dumb fan. That's not a promotion. That's just a WWE brand. Like, relax. Like, WWE is the promotion. NXT is just one of his shows. But there are some fans that like to pretend that it's not the same thing.
It isn't SP3.
I whisper it so they don't hear me. They don't hear me.
You might stir some heat. No, I mean, it just tickles me whenever I hear that. And I was seeing all these passionate fans go really crazy, a bit like Rambo does now and then. And I was like, come on, literally, this guy owns that. He's the one that probably come up with the Performance Center, like with other people. Like it's not unheard of for the boss to go down and check out other things, just because he doesn't go there often. But my goodness, it's like there's going to be a protest outside or something when he arrives. Who knows? But moving on swiftly, SP3 AEW ratings here for this week, just coming in, I believe, and a little bit more positive.
Yes, it was reported by WrestleNomics as well as Wrestling Observer that AEW Saturday Night Dynamite this past Saturday, with the main event of Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW World Championship, got its highest rating of the non-Wednesday shows, with 649,000 viewers overall for the 2-hour telecast. That's up against some stiff NBA playoff competition, some really good games that happened on Saturday that they were up against, with it did a 0.21 in the 18 to 49 key demo overall, but the main event of Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy did a 0.28 in the 18 to 49 key demo, and overall did 793,000 viewers for that segment of the show, the latter half. And that's usually, with most wrestling, usually the later the show goes, as the show goes on, they lose viewers. But to have your main event get your highest viewership of the entire show says a lot. And it says that AEW did a great job promoting the matchup throughout the telecast as well as beforehand. And they did a great job kind of promoting this show as a kind of a AEW Dynamite special in a lot of ways, and it felt like a TV special. And I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it here. It was probably my favorite episode of Dynamite in months, at least before probably the early part of May, or even earlier than that, like up on like February before Revolution. Probably the best overall show that Dynamite has produced in a couple of months. And it really, the ratings kind of tell that the viewership was back, even though they weren't on Wednesday. And now tonight, Wednesday, we are back to Dynamite on its traditional night. Final time it's going to be in Daly's Place on a weekly basis. We're going to get, this week in Daly's Place is kind of fan appreciation for the folks over in Jacksonville. And then next week's Dynamite Road Rager kicks off them returning to on the road AEW Dynamites, as they're going to be in Miami, Florida. So it's a good time for AEW with the successful ratings on Saturday night.
Yeah, there you go. So good news for them. And, like you say, I think now they'll be back on the road. That's just a big thing. And again, they're beating WWE to the punch on this one. So I think that'll be a big move for them doing that. And talking about, of course, the other promotion out there, SB3, it's not quite WWE, is it? It's WWE, not the first bit. Cut that out. I should re-edit. It's just NXT.
NXT
recap. But I have not seen any of last night's show, SB3. I've only heard about it, unfortunately. I have not got around to seeing it, but fill us in on what's been going on, and is it still living up to what it has been over the last 4 or 5 weeks?
I wouldn't say it was as great as the last 2 weeks. I think the last 2 weeks were kind of like peak stuff. Like I wouldn't fuss at anyone who gave it like a 9 out of 10, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 on the Richter scales, like last week and the week before that, with Samoa Joe making his debut as enforcer. But this was another really good show, and it was highlighted by the main event of Bronson Reed defending the NXT North American Championship against Isaiah Swerve Scott. Isaiah Swerve Scott defeating Bronson Reed thanks to help from Hit Row, and winning the North American Championship, his first WWE gold since coming to the WWE promotion. And it felt like a big moment, and it felt like a surprise change, because Bronson Reed seemed like he was on the road to a matchup with Santos Escobar, kind of coming off of what happened at TakeOver in Your House 3 weeks ago. But they kind of reverted to this. It was all set up in a promo segment where they were talking about the announcement that the NXT Breakout Tournament will be returning. 2019's Breakout Tournament debuted such stars as Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes, Angel Garza, Bronson Reed, and Swerve Scott. Both of those guys were a part of the Breakout Tournament, and they did a nice way of segueing that into the promo segment, talking to Bronson Reed as one of the more successful talents from that original Breakout Tournament. And Swerve Scott interrupted him, making the challenge for the North American Championship. They had a really good main event matchup with Bronson Reed really getting a showcase, showing off his power, showing off his agility, and just his Colossus type personality, him diverting the interference from Top Dollar and Ashante Diadonis of Hit Row, and then getting caught with the house call kick to the head, and then a springboard 450 splash from Swerve Scott for the win. It was a good moment. Hit Row has been one of the highlights of the show, so it felt like a coronation and a reward for their way that this group has kind of gelled all together in the first couple of months of them being together. They just ooze charisma. and this felt like a great moment. And it felt, I said on the Tru Heel Heat Twitter page, give them all the go. They just work as a group. They're one of my favorite things about NXT. So this felt like a very cool surprise on the show. And like I said earlier, it kind of alludes to the fact that Bronson Reed did impress Vince McMahon and the WWE officials with his main event matchup. He was on main event last week against Drew Gulak, as well as he had a dark match against Karrion Kross 2 weeks ago on before the SmackDown taping. So this kind of alludes to the fact that Bronson Reed is gearing up to get called up to the main roster. Like I said before, Vince McMahon is looking for younger, bigger talent, and there are not a lot that have the amount of potential that Bronson Reed has. So this is a good sign that he is about to get his call up to the main roster. So if it is to come, whether in the WWE draft in a few months or even sooner, I think that Bronson Reed has the potential to be successful on the main roster. Do I think he is going to be successful? I'm a pessimist when it comes to NXT call-ups, so I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he'll probably be on the main roster for 3 weeks to a month versus John Morrison and Elias, and then he'll get forgotten about and probably released on a Wednesday in a year or so. I don't know. That's just my odds are in favor of that more than him becoming a world champion at this point. But besides Bronson Reed and the new NXT North American champion, Isaiah Swerve Scott, we got a great face-to-face encounter between Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly to gear up for their Kyle O'Reilly versus Cole 2 next week at the Great American Bash. These two guys went back and forth in a very cool way. Adam Cole talking about how Kyle O'Reilly is jealous of him and that he's only gotten success when he's been next to Adam Cole in his career. He says that everybody knows it. The fans know it. Samoa Joe knows it. And even Kyle's wife knows it, which was a little bit of a ooh type of moment there. Kyle O'Reilly basically called Adam Cole delusional. Samoa Joe tried to separate the two men, and it looked like Adam Cole was about to strike Samoa Joe, and Kyle O'Reilly caught him and put him in a heel hook, and Samoa Joe just looked at Adam Cole as he asked for help, which teases more of the Cole versus Samoa Joe matchup that was teased prior. And then Samoa Joe finally had security separate the two men. It was a lot of final build-up for next week's Great American Bash special. We also had a face-to-face between the NXT Tag Team Champions MSK and the number one contenders Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa cut a excellent promo talking about how he always elevates whatever title that he has in NXT, while MSK, I like the guys. I think they're very talented in the ring. I think they are one of the best tag teams in the world. But their promo was god-awful. It was very annoying, and I understand why the CWC crowd tends to boo them more often than not, because they came off very obnoxious in their promo, and then they struck Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa without any type of provoking, so it made them look like the heels in this situation. So it's I wouldn't blame any fans that are cheering for Ciampa and Thatcher next week. We also got a really fun opener to the night of a three-way women's tag match with Io Shirai's Zoe Stark defeating Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, as well as Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai, which sets up Io Shirai and Zoe Stark versus the Wwe, Candice LeRae, and Indy Hartwell for the women's tag team titles next week. And then we also got $1 Million Challenge, $1 Million Championship rematch. We got Cameron Grimes. He first defeated Ari Sterling, which is the formerly known as Alex Zane, in a pretty good matchup there. Then after the match, LA Knight came out and basically talked trash to Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes made a challenge for a rematch for the $1 Million Championship, and LA Knight says that he has everything. He has the $1 Million Championship. He has all his cars, but what he really needs is an assistant. So he says that if Cameron Grimes loses next week, he's going to become LA Knight's butler, which is very interesting, a very interesting stipulation. So they have 4 big matches for next week's Great American Bash. We got the breakout tournament coming up soon. So a lot of things setting up. This was more of a setup and final build for Great American Bash and what's to come on this episode of NXT. So as I said, not as good as the last 2 weeks, but still a very good show.
Wow, beautifully broke down as always there by Mr. SP3. You are like the summarizing person, SP3. I mean, that's just amazing stuff there. I feel like I don't need to go and watch it now. You've saved me some good time. Well, I think it's that time of the show where it's called the plug-in time. On Powered4SP3. We love to do a bit of plug-in here and a bit of self-promotion, of course. One thing I'm going to do is just literally play a small clips video. This from an interview from our friends over at Big Fight Weekly that did this interview yesterday. So I'll just play. It's only 60 seconds, and we will come back and close the show with exactly where SP3 is going to be all week and what's coming up on Powered4.tv.
This is Liam McGarry, and welcome to the Big Fight Weekly.
Great fight. You beat Tito, and you were the first person to submit him. And when I saw that, I mean, you being an English guy, and yes, I am biased when it comes to UK fighters. I'm not going to lie, that's the way I am. But when you beat him, and you beat him by submission, mate, I could have punched a hole in the wall with, loved it.
Yeah. No, I was buzzing with that one, and I kind of knew. I knew what he was going to try and do.
Did the UK press not contact you when you won? Did you not get any of that at all?
He hit me in the side of the face. Well, it was this side, so he hit me in the side of the face of the jaw, right? So I kind of just turned my head and put my face on the side of the mat, right? He reached round, and as he reached round, he grabbed my face, and that was the one where I was like, it felt like electric shock shot up to my brain and all the way down my body. I was like, nah, get off me, please.
There you go. Go and check out the full episode of that special guest that was on. He was the first champion, by the way, from the UK in MMA. So big stuff there. And, of course, beating the first person to submit Tito Ortiz. But you'll hear loads more about it from our guys Stu and Chris, who did a fantastic job. Now, what else is coming up on Powered for this week? I mentioned earlier, yes, we're going to have Superstar Pro Wrestling that will be available at any time now. I am told from the grapevines. Rich, the partner, he is sorting that as we speak. So we get that first of all, and also back-to-back shows here. TNT Extreme Wrestling. You've got going off big time, which is of course the TNT main show, and then the family show the day after. Sky's the Limit. Featuring my good old friend Simon Miller was involved in that. I think that's one to go and watch. But yes, definitely go and check that out. And also coming up ahead of those two shows that will be available by the weekend on Powered4.tv, I've got an interview with none other than Lizzie Evo, who both performed at TNT. And she was also a trainer as well at Claw Wrestling. So really looking forward to sitting down with her and talking all things wrestling, of course. And lastly, a bit of a plug here for Stu Palmer, because he's had your problem, SP3, on the bloody strikes. He can't get his videos out. He can't promote himself on Facebook. He's been told off. So I'm going to do it for him. He's had Basham on his last interview. Definitely go and check this out. Well worth going to check it out. Of course, he was quite something in Jim Cornette's eyes at one point. I remember that much. But, of course, when he got to WWE, they thought, oh, he looks like the other guy. They'll be the Basham brothers. So that was that. And, he did have a good run. I mean, what was that group called, SP3, the JBL one?
The Cabinet.
The Cabinet. Yeah, I think it was Orlando Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah,
the Bashams and JBL.
Yeah, it's like a rip-off version at the time of like Evolution, really, on SmackDown for a time. But it was good. It was good around that time. So yeah, go and check that out. I'm doing that for him because he's been banned, so he can't get on. So I said I would plug him on this show. But SP3, it's that time as well where we got to find out exactly what he's coming up with you, and of course on Tru Heel Heat.
Yes. Firstly, of course, you can find me later today, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. BST, over on the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel. For anyone who is not subscribed over there, go over, subscribe, check out the community wall, as we got a poll going on for what me and Alex, the Daily Boys, what we're going to debate on tonight's show. You can choose between the best and worst call-ups from NXT or the most underutilized gimmicks of the past decade. So check out that poll and decide what we're going to debate today. We're also going to be discussing, the latest wrestling news, including Bully Ray's comments on Eddie Kingston's AEW promo following the show this past Saturday. So that should be a very interesting discussion for sure. Also, you can check me out on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel right now. The latest edition of Smack Talk is up, as well as our special debate about the Denise Mobley controversy, the WWE writer who said that she didn't have any knowledge of the company before she got hired and then released. We talk about it. I'm on the side of putting more of the blame on WWE and her, while Rick is on the side of kind of blaming the fans and being okay with her getting the position, while Dutch Mantel is the judge. So check that video out. I won't be on SmackDown this week. I have a rehearsal dinner to attend, so you can see Rick and Dutch on Sportskeeda Wrestling following SmackDown this week. And of course, check out the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel. A bunch of great content that's up right now. Tru Heel Heat 131 with myself, Miss Christy Love, and Top Guy JJ, listing the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time in our opinions. We did a collective list. I wasn't too happy with their list, but it is what it is. It is what it is. We put it all together. We did it all together, all three of our lists into one compact list there. You can check out Tru Heel Heat 132 this coming Saturday. It's going to be up on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, and a bunch of great content as well. Rated Raw Superstars, they went live last night to review the latest episode of Monday Night Raw. We got the Romeo Report with myself and Romeo discussing the WWE releases from this past week, as well as up later today following Wrestling Daily at about 9:15 BST, 4:15 Eastern Time, my interview with the former WWE superstar Weston Blake. That was featured on Talk Wrestling this week, on Talk Sport, on Alex's radio show. It's also going to have the full interview up on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, and that goes live later today. So check that out, as well as later this week or next week. I'm not too sure yet. My biggest interview yet, as I interviewed former WWE champion and Impact Wrestling champion Alberto El Patron. We talked about his upcoming matchup against Andrade El Idolo, and he went off, and he was completely honest on his relationship, the rise and fall between him and former WWE superstar Paige. So check it out. It's one of my most honest, most open, uncensored interviews yet.
There you go. Well, lots to look forward to, SP3, on your end. Very busy as ever. And I hope you get on well this week. And with the wedding as well, the rehearsals there, my friend. Just before we go, I'll just read some comments that came in. We got Carnage Pain Fandango was overrated, apparently. God
How can
almighty.
you be overrated if you're not rated by the company? That's preposterous.
I'm getting the feeling Carnage Pain might be Nick Khan here. Why do wrestling people score shows?
Because it's easy. It's easy to kind of tell people if you rate it good.
He's asked me this. He's asked me this before on my old podcast, and because there was a debate about why would sports fans ever do it on a football game or anything like that, or do they just care about the score? And yes, I totally get that. Nobody would do it on a sports game and go, "Well, that was a 10 out of 10 game" or whatever, because we just care about who wins and loses. But in wrestling, it is not the same. It is not the same. It is not like
if you know, like basketball analysts, football analysts, they say, yeah, it was a great game. It was a bad game. Like that's them rating it. They don't score it, but they do say if it was a great game or if it wasn't.
It's not good enough for Carnage. Elsa Kane, does SP3 watch soccer?
No, I do not. I spend most of my sports watching basketball. I'm very much into the NBA.
Time.
I'm very much into the NBA playoffs right now,
Yep.
even though my Lakers have been eliminated. But it's been a fun ride watching everybody else win, lose, and whatnot. Some great performances in the NBA playoffs.
I know as much about basketball as you do about soccer, SP3, but I do buy the 2K games. I'm a
Nice.
sucker for those games. I always buy them. So they're my thing. I
Love
do
me some
enjoy.
2K. Love the My League. My League. I love building the teams up.
And Elsa kind of saying it's coming home. Yes, that's the theme song. England won yesterday. For anybody that doesn't know, they beat Germany. It's the first time we've beat them since 1966. So everyone's going hype here. And Chris finally says, great show today, John and SP3. Definitely taken the sting away from Rafa becoming the new ever.
Uh-oh. Am I frozen or is John frozen? I don't know which one is it. I just know that I'm moving and I don't see John moving. I don't know if he's... Oh, okay. Wait. There you go.
There we are.
I'm
not sure what happened there. I couldn't work out which one it was. I just carried on talking to myself or talking to somebody. I don't know.
I was like, I don't know if it's me that's frozen. I don't know if it's John that's frozen. I was like, let me keep moving.
At this time of the show as well. Come on, give me a break, Wi-Fi. All right, I want to thank everybody that tuned in. I want to thank you, SP3, for all your fantastic knowledge as always. Good luck with everything this week, and we will be back at the same time next week for more Powered for SP3. I hope everybody has a good time. We'll see you next time.